Welcome Libra to your 2021 yearly reading and forecast. I'm going to take 4 cards, one for each quarter of the year. In-depth monthly readings, of course, can be found, as a subscriber. The in-depth monthly readings come out each month, and you can find those on the playlist. Or, of course, if you subscribe, then they get delivered directly to you. And we'll see what this energy is for the year for you, shall we? I think it's going to be quite good. If you want to find out more about what I do, then just check out the information that's in the description box. Now let's take 4 cards and see what there is. Now incidentally, I'll probably use my pen because the imagery on this deck is very esoteric and mystical, and you're going to love it. It really adds to the what I get from the drawings. This has jumped out, whatever it is, the 3 of Cups. And so we'll see what they are, and we can have a look at those together. There is the 10 of Discs. 10s are such good cards, I think, by and large. So look at this one here. There's the Ace of Discs. And finally, let's draw the final card, shall we? And then we'll get into the reading. There's this one. There is the Magus. Well, come and sit down next to me. We'll have a look at these cards together. Check out the fantastic imagery, and I'll tell you what's in store for you for 2021. Right, now these playing cards I'm not using in the reading. I just have them here for energy because I get a really good vibe up from them. Now to recap, the first quarter, January through March, April through June. This is July through to September, and here is October through to December. Now let's have a look at this first card here, which is the 3 of Cups. The 3 of Cups is the Lord of Abundance. The Lord of Abundance. Now the first thing that I should note here is that for me the astrology is Mercury in the 2nd decan of Cancer. You know, that's 2nd of July to the 11th of July. Now Cancer is the most maternal of the signs, and it is well placed as the sign of gestation to receive this card. And Cancer people can communicate with feeling, conveying a sensitive, withdrawn and thoughtful and gentle, intuitive sense of themselves, can't they? They can sometimes take themselves take things a bit personally, I think, but that's beside the point. So here we have Mercury. Mercury, will and communication in Cancer, which is nurturing. So you'll find that you can express your feelings fully with people who are close to you, which is only going to enrich your life. There's going to be an overflowing exchange of love, which is rare, and you'll have valuable feelings and perceptions which can be communicated intimately. I also see around here gatherings of people, particularly family gatherings and large gatherings of friends. Now, shall we have a look at some of the symbology on the card? Let's have a look at it. Sometimes this is quite interesting. I think that the symbology on the cards that you have drawn is very interesting itself. Well, let's have a look at these lotuses. Well, there are 8 in total. Now, mystically, 8 is the number of Mercury. And remember, I have Mercury in Cancer here. And actually, by the by, there's an interesting story in relation to Mercury and these pomegranates which we see here. The story goes like this. In old mythology, the goddess of the harvest and of agriculture and of nature was Demeter. She had a daughter, Persephone. And Hades, who was the ruler of the underworld, had his eye on Persephone, and one afternoon she was out gathering flowers in the field. Hades rode up from the underworld on his horse, snatched the girl in order to take her back down to the underworld to have his wicked way with her. Now, when Demeter came calling for her later in the afternoon, she couldn't be found, and flowers were strewn all over the field. Demeter, of course, went demented and was beside herself with worry. And so she then turned against nature, destroying crops, making the earth barren. Now what happened was Zeus, the king of the gods, said to, well, the Greek name was Hermes, but you might refer to him as the Roman equivalent of Mercury, which I'll use, said to Mercury, go down to Hades and talk to the god of Hades down there and have him release the girl. Mercury went down and said, look, you can't do this. Let her back up. Let her be with her mother. Hades apparently just shrugged his shoulders and said, okay. Now, in the time that Persephone had been underground, she had not, because of her condition of defiance, she hadn't eaten a thing. But just before she left, in order to take just that little tiny edge off her hunger, Hades persuaded her to eat one pomegranate seed. And what happened was, if you ate anything in Hades, you were doomed to remain in Hades forever. Anyway, Zeus's mother, Rhea, who was also the mother of both of Hades and of Demeter and of Zeus, said, look, sort it out. And so Mercury went back down there and cut a deal and said that the girl could come up for 6 months of the year onto the ground above the underworld and be with her mother, and for the other 6 months of the year she had to go back down and be in Hades. And for the 6 months of the year that she was up with her mother above ground, then we had spring and summer, and then when she went down, the seeds then became buried underground again, and we had then fall and winter. And that is the story as to how that came about. But let me return to the symbology here and see what else there is. Now there are, if you count these streams here, there are 7 streams coming from the cups. Mystically, Venus, the planet of love and beauty, is associated with the number 7, and it symbolizes the love uniting Persephone, which is probably the cups itself, I suppose, and Demeter, which is the sea behind it. Now, in the background here, we have clear skies, calm seas, so life for you is going to be good during this time. Now, apart from what I've already mentioned about the pomegranates, the pomegranates here, they refer to the riches you have experienced emotionally through nurturing of your friendships. Now, the 3 cups, one elevated above the other, that talks about abundance of feelings for close friends, but for one in particular. And the sea, into which is this blue behind here, into which all these cups flow, they're associated with the feminine, and the cups by their very nature are receptive, and so both reinforce and support one another. Now, putting all that together, I think what we have in store for you is, during this first period, the birth of an idea or of a goal, possibly of a child. You may hear of a child being born. You'll be sharing success with other people, and life for you is going to feel great. It's a good time for you to tell other people that you love them, and it's a good time also to boost the morale of other people. You can't imagine the karmic reward that you get for making other people feel good, particularly those people who generally don't have a kind word put their way. I think that this is also saying to you to enjoy your riches at this time, but be aware of their limitations and see them for what they are. There's an outpouring of love to 3 very significant people, and Mercury is, I think, the communication. Mercury is saying to you, tell them that you love them. I mean, you might ask yourself at this time, are there any people to whom you have not yet outwardly expressed the love you feel for them? Give whatever you would like to at this time, in full awareness of your boundless riches. And when you get into this first quarter, remember now gives me everything I need to be happy. And it may well be that some of that karmic reward is coming your way in this second quarter of the year, March, April through to the end of June, because you have this card here, which is the Ten of Discs. Now, the Ten of Discs is, well, the Lord of Wealth, as I see it. Mercury, again, this time ruling the third decan of Virgo, that 13th to the 22nd of September. Now, this is really good, because in ordinary astrology, Mercury rules and is also exalted, which means it's at its best in Virgo. So you'll have really good communication skills coming from Mercury and good organizational ability coming from Virgo. So there is success and abundance in this card. Just to show the massive influence of Mercury on this card here, we can look at the symbology. And each of these discs, which really are coins at this stage, they each have symbols of Mercury in some form, except for this one here. Now, first up here, we have the astrological symbol for Mercury. This is the symbol of the planets unified in Mercury. This is Mercury and the Kabbalistic tree of life. There are spheres in the glyph which represent the various sephirot of the tree of life. I won't go on to what the tree of life is at the moment. Now, in this one here, we have, well, this is a letter called the letter Pa. It's from the Enochian alphabet. Now, the Enochian alphabet was proposed to have been an angelic language discovered and deciphered by a guy called, I think it was John Dee, but it was back in Elizabethan times in the 1500s in England. You know, back when Elizabeth was fighting the Spanish Armada and what have you like that. Yeah. But that letter Pa corresponds to the English letter B, which corresponds to the English letter, the Hebrew word Beth, which means house. And the magician also has associated with it that letter of house, which is down here when we get to it. In fact, I'll show it to you now. This little squiggly thing down at the bottom there on the right, that's the Hebrew, biblical Hebrew letter meaning house, and that's ruled by Mercury. Then over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is the Hebrew letter Beth itself, as you can see it down here again. This time it's the Hebrew letter Beth corresponding to Mercury and the magician, and you have the magician down here. This word here is a Hebrew word. It's biblical Hebrew, and it is Hebrew for Raphael, the archangel, who is the angel of Mercury. Yeah, interesting. 7 down here. This is actually set out as the Kabbalistic tree of life, incidentally, this thing, but as I say, I won't go into it now. This symbol here is the 8-pointed star. 8 is a number which is associated with Mercury. 8 over here is 2 hexagrams, hex meaning 6, something with 6 sides. Now the 2 hexagrams together, 6 times 6 equals 36, and that is the mystic number of Mercury. Now, remembering that 8 is the number associated with Mercury, if you add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, you get to 36. And here there is a pyramid, and it might be difficult for you to see the numbers on there, but they are 8, 64, 260, and 2080, which are mystic numbers of Mercury. All very interesting, no doubt, but what does this mean for you? Well, I think during this period, with Mercury and Virgo, you will have inner and outer richness, the ability to make the inner wealth visible and share it with others. I do get a sense of richness. This is called wealth, incidentally, this card. And there's prosperity, perhaps an inheritance, or even a lottery win. Certainly a supportive and tight-knit family, and anybody involved in a family business is going to be doing particularly well. Now, I think it's also the case that you will be attracting to you everyone who is a part of your life. You will have created every situation in your life, and you create your own reality. The wealth in your hands is your own to do with what you like. The responsibility is yours, and you are endlessly wealthy. But ask yourself, do you know about your inner wealth? Do you share it generously? And on a piece of paper, perhaps, write down all the qualities which constitute your inner riches, and say to yourself, I am internally and externally rich and free, and enjoy everything thankfully and in surrender. That takes us then, doesn't it, down to the third quarter, and here you have the Ace of Discs. Now, I must say that with this Ace of Discs, I think that you are going to find Taurus, Gemini, and Aries to be very important in your life during this period. Taurus, Gemini, Aries, they're the things to build on. Now, I have to say that, well, just symbolically, there's not a lot I want to talk about this card here, but there seems like two large wings here which are enveloping and enfolding, four smaller wings down here. There's a hexagonal in there, the writing of which is too small for you to see, so I won't turn into it. But these acorns here, incidentally, they refer to growth and to fertility. This is the lord of the root of powers of the earth, and I think that this is saying that there is a beginning in your life here, and this is following what is already a very good second quarter for you. But this time also particularly the beginning of something which is really tangible. This is also speaking to me of prosperity and growth, of material abundance and improving finances. Now, it's possible that you may get a job or get a pay rise or a promotion. There's a real sense of good luck and unexpected money around here. There's also the case, I think, that you will have a deep well of grounded, practical, organizational ability during this period. It's speaking of inner and outer riches, great success, unification of your body and soul, material and spirit, heaven and earth, and wholeness. There is also a great deal of nature associated with this card, I think, so you may be spending time in nature, or more particularly, observing nature and learning from nature and learning how to bring yourself in closer to nature and the natural rhythms. There's also, I think, here a message which is coming through which is very important in relation to this card, and it is this. There is nothing you cannot be, there is nothing you cannot do, there is nothing you cannot have. You are the most magnificent, the most remarkable, the most splendid being God has ever created. For who could reject such wondrous magnificence? But you do not know who you are, and you think you are a great deal less. You are your own rule maker, and you are the only one who can assess how you are doing. All you see in the world is your idea about it. Life will take off for you when you choose for it to. An idea becomes a thought becomes a word. Say it out loud. Thoughts have power, and they echo all throughout eternity. A word becomes an action. And if you're going to do it, start. And when you start, go all the way. Do it, do it, do it. Seize the opportunity that's coming to you at this time. Rejoice in it, and let no power on earth take it from you. And then finally, your real friend Mercury is making an appearance yet again. This is going to be a period, a year of the use of your intellect, that fine intellect of yours, and your ability to communicate with others. This is the Magus of power. Now, the Magus represents infinity, taking things on forever, communication, playful dealings with all possible forms of communication, a lot of flexibility, a lot of brilliance being shown by you, ambition, power, manifestation of ideas and desires. Your willpower will be there, but I have to say this also, that given the influence of Mercury, which has been building up with you all throughout the year, you will by this time become a very smooth talker. You have what is called the gift of the gab. And it's a particularly good card for those who are self-employed. Now, he usually does, and he does here too. In this thing here is the representation of fire. Here is the representation of cups and of water. This sword here is the representation of the suits of discs, and of swords rather, and air. And here is the coin, the discs. Quite straightforward, really, isn't it? Now, let's see what else. Is there anything there that's of general importance? Oh, I've just noticed this thing here. This is an Orphic egg which has wings on it. Now, this represents spirit, the fifth element after the other four. And it appears, actually in this deck, it appears again in the Lover's card. It represents the nothingness out of which everything is born. Thus, we have the opposites in the Magus, representing the manifestation, and the Orphic egg, the formlessness and potential of spirit. Shall we just say this in closing, that I think that this is going to be a time to create something in your life and to bring it into fruition, really. You are going to make your wishes come true. You will have a strong desire to commence, to begin something new. This is about manifesting your goals by using the tools that you actually have. So it's not about delusion. It's about being very practical. It's about using the things that are at your disposal to make things happen. I think that there is something here which is probably a time of a real focus on a specific goal here, and have good motives and intentions, and you can be sure that with those, great things are going to happen for you. What a fantastic year, what a great set of cards. That's the way it is for you this year. Well, there you go, 2021 in a snapshot. It's been great fun doing that reading for you, and I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did providing it to you. Now, I look forward to seeing you in the monthly readings, okay? But until then, just remember one thing always, and it is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, it's bye for now.